All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am joined today by our City Administrator, Chris Shorter, our DPW Director, Jason Mitchell, our Health Commissioner, Dr. Jaraza, our Emergency Management Director, Chief Wallace, and DPW's Water and Wastewater Bureau Chief, Yosef Cabeta, and also Marcia Deppin from the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. I have pulled this group together to provide updates on the water contamination and boil water advisory situations here in Baltimore, and hopefully to answer some of the outstanding questions surrounding the spread of contamination. I want to start off by reiterating again that we are taking this issue very seriously and coordinating with our partners at the state and our partners throughout the region to make sure that we are addressing this issue in the appropriate fashion. The health and well-being of our residents remains our top priority, and we will keep working diligently to determine the source of the contamination, address the problem, and resume the delivery of clean, drinkable water to our residents. Thankfully, we're going to continue to do that in partnership with the guidance also of our health department. We are continuing to distribute clean water to locations throughout the advisory zone, and we have heard the concerns of our residents around improving accessibility and urging older adults and homebound residents to call 311 to schedule delivery. We will bring that water to you, as Chief Wallace and I and Director Mitchell were doing in West Baltimore on Riggs Avenue last night. You have my word, Baltimore, that we will get this issue resolved in a timely fashion. But I also want you all to realize that this isn't something that can be resolved overnight. We are continuing to test locations throughout the city and the surrounding counties, and will continue to do so until the issue is resolved. We have the latest round of test results available, and Director Mitchell will share those results shortly. There are some good signs, but we want to be absolutely certain that our water supply is safe for consumption before we consider lifting the advisory. And with that, I will turn it over to Director Mitchell for that information.
First, thank you, Mayor Scott, and good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank our city agencies, our county agencies, our state partners, our corporate partners for their unwavering support of the city during this time. We have all worked together to address the various serious issues concerning contamination within our localized water system. We are continuously working in the areas where we require advisories and will remain in effect for Sandstown and the Harlem Park communities. The advisory for the area identified on the map remains in effect. I want to reiterate, DPW has been in total compliance with EPA and MDE guidelines regarding notifications, sampling, and mitigation of contaminants. The Department of Public Works routinely takes samples from 90 locations within our distribution area and equates to about 360 samples per month. Last Friday, September 2nd, we took 19 samples located in locations as identified in the initial distribution map. Results for one of the locations in Sandtown and the Harlem Park communities at Fire Station 8 at 1503 West Lafayette Street came back positive Saturday, September 3rd. We immediately notified the Maryland Department of Environment and conducted a second test to confirm results. That includes 2 additional locations up and downstream at Police Station on 1034 North Mount Street and a facility at 920 North Carey Street, per protocol. These facilities also test positive on Sunday, September 4th. To date, we have been testing all 90 locations, and we hope to have all 90 locations tested by the conclusion of tomorrow in the impacted zone and outside of our impacted zone. To date, we have received 25 results back. All results were negative except for one location, and that was at the initial site, which was police station at 1034 North Mount Street in a direct impact area. In the impact zone, we are taking 8 samples every 8 hours at this location, and we expect results back later this afternoon, our first initial results. DPW is continuously to investigate the cause of the contaminants by surveying and sampling other locations, identifying construction projects in the area, performing leak tests, performing valve assessments, and checking chlorine levels in the area. I want to again thank our partners, our citizens for their patience. We continue to be proactive in ensuring safe consumption of our drinking water, and we will continuously work tirelessly throughout the day and night in these upcoming days to ensure that happens. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I just want to echo what Mayor Scott and Director Mitchell indicated. The health and safety of city residents remains of utmost priority. While the boil water advisory is in effect, I do want to just spend a minute reviewing what E. coli is and how you can protect yourself and your family from possible gastrointestinal illnesses caused by E. coli. E. coli is a bacteria found in the intestines of healthy people and animals. Most types of E. coli are harmless or cause relatively mild diarrhea, but a few strains can cause severe stomach cramps, bloody diarrhea, and vomiting. You may be exposed to E. coli from contaminated water or food. Healthy adults usually recover from infection with pathogenic or disease-causing E. coli within a week. Young children and older adults do have a greater risk of developing a life-threatening form of kidney failure if infected with pathogenic E. coli. Signs and symptoms of disease-causing E. coli usually begin 3 to 4 days after exposure, but you may become ill as soon as 1 day after exposure to more than a week later. Again, those signs and symptoms to look for include diarrhea, which may range from mild and watery to severe and bloody, stomach cramping, pain or tenderness, and or nausea and vomiting in some people. Please contact your doctor if you develop diarrhea that is severe, persistent, or bloody. In an effort to stay safe during the boil water advisory, you should boil water for at least 1 minute and then cool prior to use for the following: drinking, brushing teeth, washing fruits and vegetables, preparing baby food and formula, making ice, giving to your pets, washing dishes, and food preparation. Boiling kills bacteria and other organisms in the water. Residents should discard all stored water or drinks or ice made recently and can store boiled water in a clean container with a cover. While it's generally safe to wash your hands with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds, out of an abundance of caution, use the approved or provided water supply to wash your hands. The Health Department will continue to work closely with the lead agency, DPW, and the Office of Emergency Management to support resident safety. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Chief Wallace.
Thank you, Dr. Raza. Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Chief Wallace from the Office of Emergency Management. Our EOC has been open in support of this initiative since Monday afternoon, and we're going to continue to stay open until the conclusion of this emergency as well as the recovery period. When situations like this arise, we immediately activate our Emergency Operations Center, and as I said, we did so Monday afternoon. The EOC currently is staffed by multiple city agencies as well as our partners from Annapolis, Anne Arundel County, Carroll County, Harford, Howard County, and Baltimore County. We've brought in extra planners to help move through this event, and we're also joined today by planners and staff from Maryland Department of the Environment. Today is our third day of water distribution. We have 3 sites open around the city. Our sites are located at Harlem Park Elementary Middle, the Lansdowne Public Library, and the Middle Branch Park. As of 3 o'clock this afternoon, that water distribution initiative had distributed just over 53,000 gallons of bottled water, just in 3 days. These distribution centers will remain open until 8 o'clock tonight. They will open again at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and will go again until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. The Office of Emergency Management and our partner city agencies, as well as our regional partners, remain committed to supporting the administration and assuring that we return city water to its safest possible condition, and we will remain activated and committed to this until this matter is resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Wallace, and thank you to all the individuals here today, as well as our EEOC team, the hundreds of people who have been tirelessly working around the clock on this matter. I also want to take a time to thank all of our partners, from the Lieutenant Governor Rutherford, who I've been in contact with tremendously, our county executives, the mayor of Annapolis, all the folks in the region who have stepped up to support the city, our corporate partners, our community partners, the people who have wrapped their arms around the city, in particular the impacted neighborhoods. And I want to, as we close, reiterate that we are taking this issue very, very seriously, and will continue to do what's necessary to ensure that the health and well-being of Baltimoreans continues to remain as our top priority. And with that, we'll take questions.
Mic check. You hear me?
Yep.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
There we go, Emily.
Thank you. Regarding sickness from E. coli, what are the very latest updates on that? And do hospitals and healthcare providers have a plan to call the health department if someone tests positive or has signs?
Yep. Dr. D?
Sure. So I want to first start by saying we've been in contact with all of the hospitals in that zone and have had regular interactions and engagements with them. So that includes Grace Medical Center, University of Maryland Midtown, as well as St. Agnes. So they are alerted. They're aware that if they do see a spike in illness, to notify the health department. Similar primary care providers, again, E. coli is one of those things where you would have to test. Someone can show up with a gastrointestinal illness. You don't necessarily make the assumption that it's E. coli unless there are more severe symptoms. In that case, the person would likely end up hospitalized anyway. So again, I think our healthcare partners are fully aware, and we've been engaging with them throughout.
Thank you. And I know Director Mitchell has ruled out the water filtration plant as a possible source of contamination. Have you guys ruled anything else out? What is the investigation into that source like right now?
Thank you for the question. We are still investigating our system. Our 3 water treatment plants has been and is currently operating within guidelines. We are looking at everything. Again, we're looking at leaks. We're looking at water main breaks. We're looking at valve assessments. We're looking at anything that would disrupt our water system in that localized area. And we're out there assessing now and using our test results as well to identify the locations of serious concerns.
Thank you. And last question, can you tell us about the pumping station that was taken offline in Mount Vernon on August 26th? I know there's a theory out there that it could have led to low chlorination in the system. So
yes, that pump station was taken offline on August 26th in order for us to complete a valve replacement and reconstruction in our distribution system. It was really critical for us to make that repair, capital repair. At this time, we're still assessing and looking at what is linked or what is caused contamination. But all the things that I just discussed before are things that we're looking at going forward.
Got it. And just finally, is that station back on now, or is it still being repaired?
Correct. It is back on now, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify your remarks, Dr. Mitchell, about the sampling results. So at one point during your remarks, you said there were 25 results and 1 came back positive.
Correct.
The police station on I believe it was Cary. So is that all from Monday's sampling? Like, when were those samples taken? The 25 that only 1 came back positive.
Those samples were taken Monday evening into the night and into Tuesday morning because it takes time to go through the right protocols for the sampling. So Monday into Tuesday, those samples we were receiving results.
Can you talk about the concentrations of E. coli bacteria seen on these samples? I mean, are we seeing reductions in the concentration as you guys are attempting to flush out the system and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So we had 3 positive sites. The positive site was Fire Station 8 at 1503 West Lafayette. We also sampled 2 other sites, our police location on North Mount Street at 1334 North Mount Street, and another location at 920 North Cary. The fire station and the site North Cary tested negative in our follow-up samples, so we are seeing improvements within our testing, and that was part of the 24 samples that showed negative.
Okay. And in terms of, obviously, there have been some concerns about communication here. When are you guys expecting to communicate the next round of results?
So I think it's critical to know, and I think we talked about this process the other day. One, the director, we know that when a sample is taken, it has to be 24 hours before. But then there's an additional process where we have to talk with and work through with our partners at MDE before DPW can go out and we can come out here and say that. We're going to continue to follow that because that's the regulation. As those results come in and we talk with them and follow the protocol, we'll make that information available as quickly as possible within the regulations so that we can get that out, get that information out. I don't think anyone understands the need for us to communicate that more than me, but I think the residents of Baltimore and the folks in the region know me well enough to know that I'm not going to cut any corners, and we're going to make sure with the issue this serious that we're following every single regulation.
Thank you.
And just also, Keith, before you start, for Emily, the other thing that I would want to say about the pumping station question is that we're not going to be talking about theories. Anything that you hear from us is going to be about facts that we absolutely know through the science. This is something that we cannot afford to go off theories. We have to talk about what we know, and that's how we'll be operating. Keith?
So you consider the Vernon pumping station thing just a theory at this point? It's
That's
not.
literally how it's been characterized, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Your office released a statement yesterday and regarding your regret. You regret not telling the public earlier about the situation. Can you speak specifically more to that? Specifically, why the regret and what damage do you think was actually done?
Well, the regret is simply about not being able to go through the process faster, Keith. As I just said to me, we want to get that information out as quickly as possible, but when you have to follow regulations, we're going to follow those regulations. And sometimes that causes us not to be able to do things that we want to do in the haste that we did. But again, I think for your viewers in particular, for folks to know is that we follow every regulation working with our state partners, and they will tell you that we follow every regulation. They're standing with us today, the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. We've been talking with MDE throughout this process. They are with us. The folks through the region and county governments are with us throughout this process. We are not skipping any steps. We will not do that. We will follow the rule to the thick of the law, and that's how we'll go through it.
And all of that notwithstanding, as a result to the city's response, what action, if any, do you plan to take in this situation, specifically with DPW and perhaps its director?
Well, I guess I don't know, Keith, if you didn't hear what we just said about the actions that we're taking. Maybe you weren't here, but we have taken a lot of action, right? When you think about the fact that we've gone out and done these tests, that we have an emergency management center open, fully operational, not just with city resources, but with state resources and regional resources, that we're going out there doing this test, expanding that we went out and retested and went and had 24 negative results in that area. That's action being taken. When you think about the amount of gallons of water that you just heard that we delivered out, that's action being taken. When you see DPW going out, fixing water mains, looking at valves, looking at everything, testing hydrants, flushing systems, that's the action that's being taken and is the appropriate way to operate this per the guidelines.
Okay, and one last question. Has there been any reports of people being ill? I guess Dr. Zaraza would know, or you would know, certainly.
I'll let Dr. D take that question.
Okay, Dr. Zaraza, has any...
Dr. D.
Dr. D, yes, of course I know. Have there been any reports of people being ill from this?
So we have an Office of Acute Communicable Diseases, and that is who investigates any type of foodborne or viral illness that could be spread to the public. We are subsequently investigating 2 cases currently. It is too soon to say, that it's directly linked to exposure from the water, but we are investigating actively 2 cases of individuals who live in the advisory zone.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Barry?
Mayor, just wondering if these results have come back the way that they have, where you talked about the negative results. Does that mean, or any indication as to when you might be able to reduce the area that you're talking about, especially with the county, and do you have any information on that yet?
Yeah, I think that, as I said earlier, we're going to be doing that through a very cautious way. As we get more results, as we get further results back this afternoon, this evening, in the morning, then that's how we reassess as we work through with MDE and our partners to say, okay, how can we do this in a responsible way, in a way that's considering of the magnitude of what we're talking about here, the science, but also the reality of the situation on the ground. That's the kind of measurements that we'll be taking as we get those results in. And as soon as we can go out and lift that, Barry, you'll be one of the first people that I call to tell.
Mr. Mayor.
Hey, ma'am.
Hi. The last map that we saw came out, I believe, yesterday from DPW. Does that map still hold? Is it the same area? And I thought you did a really good job on Monday night of explaining what the difference between folks in the square means and what the larger area means. So if you could do that again.
That map does not change for us. The only thing that changes in that map is that we have some negative results in that focus area as well. The rest of those green dots are still green because they were also negative.
Thank you.
And as soon as we can change that map, we will. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to follow up briefly with Dr. Durazo. So the 2 cases that are being investigated in that square, are those just possible instances of E. coli exposure, or
They're gastrointestinal illnesses
that
right?
we're just still investigating to
that
determine
we're
whether
still investigating to
there's any
determine
connection?
whether there's any connection and what the exposure may have been.
Do we know if those individuals tested positive for E. coli or at all? We do not know that
So
yet.
we do not know. Again, what I'll say about it in general is most gastrointestinal illnesses are oftentimes assumed to be viral, and so there would have to be special additional work and testing to be done to determine that it's caused by E. coli. So a lot of that goes through us getting a thorough history from those individuals, similar to COVID, the case investigation, the contact tracing, to determine where their exposure may have been.
That absolutely makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.